Hello and welcome back, everyone, to the minor league. The last week of this phase of the minor league. It's been a long run here, 13 weeks in the phase, but we are closing it up with these games this week. My name is Pretty Hair. This is Gormizer, and we're here to bring you Penta versus Blazing Hussars.
You know, in all 13 weeks, this is the only time that we've come on camera, and I've thought, man, I really hope I was able to clean my face off just enough after eating. But I think I nailed it.
Well, there's a first time for everything. Penta here.
First time for Penta to, well, I guess not to lose. They've already lost once.
They've already lost just once to Sour Team very early on in the phase. It's been a kind of dominant back half here, 10-1, 8-3 for Sour Team. That was close. I was going to say, not in a million years would I have imagined that one would have gone 2-0 up for All Business at the onset to only be reverse swept. But again, this is kind of what I was saying on Esports Weekly, man. You definitely have to give it to these minor league players. They have really, I don't think any team has really let off the gas. All these teams are making adjustments and improvements with their eyes on the next phase. That's really, really good to see. It's made it very entertaining. I'll just be straight up. When people start to kind of troll or not show up or, mess around, and it just feels like it wastes everyone's time. But, not today. This is the last week. Nothing can even really change, and we still saw All Business go very hard.
And I'm just going to say, I don't blame the Willow pick. Because Sour Team did lock in, the first one, they come through and they lose it. I don't blame Willow. I just think things got out of hand for him.
Yeah.
Because I still like Willow.
I think there's definitely some room there. Some quality of life changes coming for Willow as well. Those have been announced on Twitter via Adonis. But, guys, let's go ahead. Let's get into this one. Let's look at Penta first. 10-1. They've been nigh unstoppable ever since we got started here in the minor league.
This is a team that right now, there are even Premier League teams that are scared of Penta. This is a team that is looking incredible throughout their minor league run, but they're looking incredible for their MSI run. They're looking incredible for just their future in general. And Ovum's one of those guys. This is a team of 5 guys that have been playing the game for a long time. Ovum is just such a solid front line.
He deserves
that I think it's one of those things you will underestimate it. I think other people play frontline. I'm going to put him up there with Lazy, right? He's going to be in that pivotal point where he will make a difference in the game, and if he happens to have an off game, that could potentially bring Penta down.
Good full-time frontliners like Ovum, they're not that easy to come by out there in the wild. So I feel like Ovum is really a special guy. He had 4 of he was in kind of this situation, and imagine 4 of his teammates get kind of stripped away, brought up to the Premier League, and he's left on his own in the minor league. He's really kind of kept his head down. He's had, that's an unfortunate thing to have happened to you.
Yeah.
He keeps his head down, continues to grind, improves, gets a new team to land in the PGS, and continues to do well. So that's why I'm really looking forward to Penta at the MSI. I hope they do well. I think Ovum specifically deserves this. This is a great moment, I think, for Simsalo as well, to have a bounce-back moment into the scene. I think a lot to look forward to from Penta going into the MSI. But on the other side, Blazing Hussars, they've had a rough go of it. They have some ex-PPL talent in Kamikaze and Angedoodle, but just haven't been able to put it together.
For a team that came in, and again, when we're looking at it, the very beginning of the split, a lot of these teams looked even coming in after qualifiers. This team kind of fell flat from where I think everyone's expectations were. They've gotten and improved a ton in the few weeks, but like you said, with the ex-PPL talent, with the ex-PGS talent that they have, right, a lot of people who would normally climb to #1, worst case #2, and a split haven't been showing up quite as cleanly every single time.
That's right. And putting it together, making the adjustments, that's what's happening right now for a lot of minor league teams. So, and to be fair, I think out of everyone, Blazing Hussars have made the fewest sort of moves, roster changes, role swaps, that sort of thing.
They've just kind of stuck to their guns.
So if they feel good about it, that's one thing. If they're just, kind of taking the foot off the gas, that's another. But going to have to get into the draft here for Penta versus Blazing Hussars. Game number will be played on Warder's Gate. Cassie's the first ban. And we were looking, specifically to Angedoodle to be kind of that beacon for this squad. Because he, almost like how we talk about Invoco with the Premier League, even though he was on that Mouse Sports squad and, they got handled, both, I think, phases, both splits that they were around, Doodle kind of was always a light at the end of the tunnel for me on that team.
And he always performed well, and that's the same thing that's going on with Blazing Hussars. He's almost always consistent, except for that week where he's playing a bunch of supports. That was a weird week for the Blazing Hussars. But, he's always been very consistent, always been very solid. And it's just, where is it falling apart, right? Because their drafts are pretty decent. the playstyle for all 5 of them are pretty decent. It's kind of similar to, in my eyes, to like where Renegades are, where it's just like something isn't clicking between all 5 of them, and because of that, there's a disconnect. Like maybe there's not enough communication coming from one player, and it's feeding not enough information to the rest of everyone else. Like things like that will fully break down a team, even if it's just one small problem.
And those are the types of things that are impossible to see from the outside looking in. So that's why if you watch a team week after week after week, and they have good players, and they're picking good drafts, they're relatively strong in-game players, you know, you cross all those things off the list, and process of elimination eventually just sort of guides you to that. Maybe these guys just don't work so well together. You never know how they're communicating. You don't know if they like to approach the game the same way. A lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that is incredibly important to his team's success, and they get Koa 5th here with Torvald. Penta. Penta's getting this draft.
And they ban the Cassie.
What's happening?
They grab the shell in. Like, that is a... Okay, so this can counter bubbles. This can counter bubbles, so we're going to take that one. You're left with the scraps. Although they do get Genos Leon. I think there's a lot of damage. And a Sky on top of it. I actually really like the way Blazing Hussars are running down this path.
Okay, so, I mean, I feel like you see this from time to time. If you have... just a meta and drafts and, you know, Genos Con, that's all that's making it through, and that's, you know, those are the big boy strong picks. Sometimes it's like you're so tunnel visioned on getting Genos Con or, you know, whatever it is, Genos Atlas Con, that you forget about Torvald, Makoa, and all these older things. And this happens. Every once in a while, the tides will sort of shift, and Makoa will wind up
will
on
come
shore.
out of the water.
Yeah, he'll come out of the water.
I am emerged.
And it's like, well, we have been banning this guy for 8 months. Maybe they forgot how to play him. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So that's kind of the fun of getting to see Makoa this early, is we'll get to see what Penta are able to do with it.
I can't remember if it was last week or 2 weeks ago, but I think it was Blazing Hussars also let Makoa out against Sour Team, so it must have been last week, and it was just like the first game Makoa first pick for Sour Team banned the rest of the set again, where it's just like, yeah, okay, we remember why he's banned. And that's like the one thing, like, it's the fresh reminder, you know. It's kind of, I guess, like it literally is just like the, okay, he comes out, he beats you down, and you're like, all right, makes sense to have both of the powerhouses that are banned. I would say 99% of the time. Like, there's probably 1% of games total where these two ever make it through together, if not even less.
And both on the same team.
And they're on the same side.
The same team. That's what I'm freaking losing my mind about. We'll have to see how it pans out.
Ancient Rage with a bubble on top of him, swinging them down.
No, sir. That's not what I want. And that's why you look at this draft from Penta at the moment, and it feels like there's a stupid amount of win conditions. Oven playing, albeit
Oven
half
just
shell
has to
Makoa.
play.
Yeah, he's playing his half shell Makoa, so he will be the point front line here. A little bit more utility. You can kind of, you know, maintain your ability to shoot. But Torvald Bomb King, you have the Shaolin just free firing kind of from the background. A very good draft put together by Penta. I'm excited to see what they do with it.
And this is just going to be, I want to say, a showcasing of power. I'm interested to see the Sky more than anything on Blazing Hussars, though, because one of the things that I've been talking about in my eyes that is a good way to deal with Makoa is, well, 10,000 health, burn it down. And that is exactly what Sky does. Some of the changes to stealth that came in with this patch means that you can stay stealth when you're getting damaged as Sky. It's going to pop up damage numbers. You can still be kind of tracked down, but like theoretically, she will be able to either engage or disengage from fights a little bit cleaner because of that.
Two concerns I have. Well, here's one of them. Just being able to blow somebody up in time. Gets every bolt out onto K. Cruncy. Nice stuff there. Collapse on there after. Poison is enough as well. Doodle gets 2 with the engagement. Nice stuff from the Sky. 4 kills now for Blazing Hussars. A 4 for 1 as Arrays is the only one able to find a kill here. Simsilo, the news tightens, and he dies as well. 90% grabbed on the objective, though. Can you really call it a loss?
I can say, though, this is exactly kind of what Blazing Hussars want from their composition. It's kind of like you're building a bridge as Penta, and Blazing Hussars are just coming in and kind of breaking down the supports, or doing their best to knock them out. Whatever they can do to make you a little weaker, and as of right now, that's enough to get them a point. Like you said, 90% was big, but no one from Penta was going to be back in time to touch.
There it is. So Blazing Hussars will grab the first objective of the game, sparking to life. And one thing to talk about is, you know, so many strategies built around, like we were saying, Atlas Con, Atlas Genos, whatever variety of those, you know, kind of power picks.
Yeah.
That there is, I think, some rust to knock off of these compositions, right? When's the last time you think Penta played half-shell Torvald in their scrims, you know? It's likely they get their Bomb King, they get their Shaolin, they get their Damba, but these other two pivotal pieces of the composition I'm sure that there's some rust to be knocked off there, like I was saying.
I've even made that joke to NIP at one point when we were doing a pregame interview where it's just like, is there even a point in practicing Makoa since, 90% of the time he's going to be banned? And it's just like, if he happens to come through in a scrim, I'm sure teams pick him up just as fast as they would pick him up in a real game, where it's just like, cool, we want to be able to test Makoa plus whatever. And most of the time, Makoa plus whatever is going to be able to be a winning equation. But again, love the fact that Blazing Hussars have gone the Sky here. And I love the way Andrew Doodle's playing her just because it's at that pivotal point where he's not doing anything insane. He's not doing anything that's groundbreaking on Sky. He's just, can I find the tank? I'm going to kill the tank.
And I was a little bit worried at the onset of this game because most people will pick up Sky in response to Makoa because of the usual Leviathan high HP pickup.
Yeah.
I was a little bit concerned Andrew Doodle picking the Sky into a half-shell Makoa, but it seems to be working out okay.
It's a little more difficult, I think, to get the poison bolts from long range, like kind of burst you down from the mid-range that we've seen Sky kind of transfer her playstyle to, but when it comes down to, hey, I'm just going to come shotgun blast you, it still works perfectly.
That was almost very stylish. I mean, it still was. Erase dies for it, though. So Rhett's back onto the map, hyper-beamed. Penta can't decide what they want to do with this Genos, but he will take a spill into the drink regardless.
I'm pretty sure he went to jump off. They hooked him back on and then pushed him off. That is...
You're going to die an archer, boy.
You don't get to choose when you go out. It's a stagger, to say the least, but it was an interesting way to do it. They're going to drop the Hyper Beam for it. Admittedly, there's not many spots on this map that can be super lethal with Hyper Beam. There's a lot of little, collisions that will knock you down if you're trying to fight from the point. And of course, you can't immediately just kill them off of the point, but being able to pull them off around the push, it's solid.
Still such a potent ability. That Dredge anchor Ovum barely gets it out. Nice Torvald shield as well. Leon diving, trying to finish that kill, but the tables were turned as the Torvald bubble kept Ovum safe. Doodle gets 2 more, and this kind of segues nicely into the point I wanted to make about Sky, is that, yes, Debilitate on paper is the best for shredding front lines.
Yeah.
But it's a percentage base, It's not like you just can't blow up squishier targets doing 44% of their HP in a small window.
It's actually this interesting dynamic.
Arguably, you need the poison damage less to blow up a squishy. Anything is better.
If you look at Sky over the last couple updates, she got a buff nerf. Her stealth got buffed in the sense that it no longer breaks from damage. But Debilitate got taken down to 25%.
Yeah.
It's only a 5% knock, but 5% of 10,000 is a huge amount.
You're on patch now, so you'll probably be able to answer this question better than I will. Didn't they add the ability to see a damage number when you hit a stealth target
so
as
whenever
well?
so whenever you see someone hit her, you'll see the number pop up on her, but it won't reveal her.
Gotcha. That's what I was wondering. And that makes it much easier to play, much less frustrating to play against Sky. That's something I've been hoping for a long time, so good to see that in there. Overpower comes through from Kamiker. He's going to lose his life for it, but he will kill Makoa as a result. Doodle gets the credit for the kill with the last hit, the last tick of damage done here. I think Kate Cruncy, honestly, has done a great job with this Torvald so far. Of not only bubbling targets, all the right targets at the right times, but look, he's staying involved, getting Hyper Beam kills, making sure that he's landing good left-click damage as well. All stuff that you have to do to make yourself not a good Torvald, but a great one.
This might be a weird comparison, but Cruncy is playing the Torvald the way Ovum plays a Nara, right? There's one style that a lot of people bring where it's very passive for a Nara. And that's the same thing. I see almost every single Torvald essentially is just played as a support that happens to have a few thousand health, right? He just sits back and bubbles. But getting in your face, adding on damage, and kind of being the control for your team is so big.
Whoa, another sounded like a Hyper Beam, but got my my voice cues mixed up. When we have a little bit of moment here, I want to take a look actually at Makoa's loadout as he respawns, running half shell, not the standard style. And go break down what you're seeing from it.
Barrier Reef 5 is the one that catches my eyes. Every 3,000 damage absorbed by the shield is going to lower its cooldown. And that's 5 seconds. So essentially, as long as your shield is up, which the reason half shell's good on this point is because there's no other walls, you throw your shield down, leave it around the objective, keep yourself, your Torvald, anybody else who happens to be around there safe, and any incoming damage to try and burst down the shield gives you the shield back.
It's a 6,000 HP shield, so if you get completely destroyed, you're leveraging that card twice, and you said at 5 seconds. That is a hefty amount of cooldown reduction. Ovum's feeling good about his position in this game currently. Payload's bearing down upon conversion. I don't see this one going through without an overtime, but it's getting damn close, Gore. They're going to make a move here defensively, and they wait too long.
The dash.
So I'm saying, I'm like, guys, hello?
Oh, it was almost on time. That's the one issue I feel like I see more teams make than not, right? Whereas just how much time do you have left? Do you have enough time for that dash to actually close that gap? Or is it going to go through in the last tick? And that's where Kamaker was like, I can dash, I can hit the point.
Man.
But if I go down a second too soon, I die too fast. If I go down a second too late, well, that happens. And
yeah.
finding that middle ground, I mean, we see it all the time on objective captures, on payload pushes. Like, that is probably the hardest thing to figure out. Just because, I mean, Kamaker in that kind of position, Toot in that kind of position, understand if we go down, we're dead.
I mean, damn, we saw the payload get captured, a small little skirmish in between that and the end of the round. So as a result, Ovum doesn't do much fighting, only gets his Ancient Rage to charge back to 45%. And that's a small silver lining, I think, for Blazing Hussars, as they're a little bit closer on some of their big ultimates as well. Toot, does he go down here? Bomb King is looking straight at him and gets the fadeaway kill.
And just being able to find this pressure, one of the great things that Ovum's been able to do. Again, a lot of stuff focused around the shield, but you can kind of look at him now. No healer is supporting him, but he does have another card in his loadout that is going to heal him whenever his shield is dropped. He's turned Makoa into a point tank when Makoa normally is not played as a point tank. It's just going to be very difficult trying to deal with that Sky.
Yeah, going to be pretty dead here. 57 grabbed, comeback mechanic enabled for Blazing Hussars, so 31%. Climbing rapidly. Here comes the King Bomb. Here comes the Toxic Time Bomb as well to kind of slow it down, and it accomplishes its goal, quite frankly. Erase manages to get one magical pick onto Graffies, so that might be the door back open now and an opportunity for Blazing Hussars to fall.
A couple of good shots right here would make a good difference. They get rid of Toot, they get rid of Kamaker,
oh, nice
and
stun.
they put themselves in a comfortable position.
And Ovum
moving forward, 87%, and I think Penta should be able to control this.
Final couple of ticks here, and there it is. Part of it is, you know, big stun there to get the door, but that pick from Erase, I think, is a very critical role to opening the opportunity for Penta to get back in there and come back from that. Hey, Doodoo, frankly, played pretty well on the Sky. I was going to say that was not really where that composition started to fall apart for me. We said Rust to be knocked off maybe, but I think overall Penta looked good with those more niche picks and the Makoa and the Torvald.
And I also think it's one of those things, again, how often does Torvald make it through? How often does Makoa make it
through?
Is
niche
you don't
the
get
right
to play
word for that?
Perfectly.
Like, what would you call them? They're technically niche because they're always banned and barely ever played?
I don't know how to, I don't know what the perfect terminology for it.
I mean, at this point, you're literally seeing Makoa and Torvald about as much as you're seeing Sky.
Yeah.
They're just never around.
They're always in the bans.
Yeah, that's true.
You get to see them every single game. You just don't get to see them played every single game. I actually really like the dynamic they brought here, because I feel like we've seen Makoa,
that was hot.
like Makoa Khan, we've seen Makoa Nara, we've seen Makoa insert other frontline, and we've seen Torvald with all those champions. I don't remember the last time I ever saw these two on the same team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Erase was a very, very bright point as well. We saw a couple of very stylish plays from Shaolin and stuff like that, you know, withdrawing with a bunch of falling momentum through that jump jet, hitting arrows all the while. And this might have actually been it. There was the time, but yeah, that was it. So that double tap there on a Graffies, that was raw mechanical aim. That was nobody setting him up for nothing. He just hit those shots, and that's what I think opened the door for Penta to get back in there. He was a very, very shining light, like I said, bright spot for this composition. And one that was on its own, right?
Yeah.
You had the Torvald Bomb King win condition. You had Makoa just being Makoa and turbo strong. But then you just had Erase. We set that up going into that game, and Erase kind of popped off there. I mean, maybe it's because everyone was looking at Makoa, Torvald, Bomb King. I think that has a little bit to do with it, but he looked
maybe a little bit
solid.
I mean, that's one of those moments, again, they banned the Cassie last game, which I think was a very big one, where it's just taking away something Graffies is really good at.
That's true.
Kind of forces him onto Leon, which he's also really good at, but maybe a little more less comfortable on that map. And now they're banning out Aldama. Like, this is what I like from Penta. Like, Sour Team are doing something similar with their drafts, where they're like, let's try this out, let's try this out.
Doesn't it just look so weird to you? Like, your eyes just like, you almost like...
It hurts.
I get so used to seeing the same 4 to 6 pictures down there.
Torvald.
That I'm just not used. That looks so weird to my brain at the moment. But Vivian is going to be first pick for Blazing Hussars. Jaguar Falls is the map, and Archon for Penta.
You know, I said Torvald. I love the way Blazing Hussars goes, because they're like, we don't want to play Torvald. But if you're going to try to get him, we're just going to pick Shield Burster 1000
Yeah.
in Vivian. Like, we're going to make sure that he's not effective for you. And it still leaves him open, but I don't know
he works okay with Vivian,
how much
too.
they're going to want to.
I think he works okay with Vivian. Gives her just, you know, I mean, there's nobody in the game that doesn't want more damage and the movement speed and the
And health.
survivability. Yeah. There's nobody that doesn't want that. Vivian,
I don't know.
in particular, though, uses those things, I think, very well, right? When you look at it with an Eevee, I think you're only getting a couple elements of that. I really think you're only much getting some of the health, and you're getting a little bit of course, the damage. But, like, when you factor in the move speed, Eevee's not on the ground using that movement speed.
Yeah.
She's blinking around using that sustain. So she can argue that she's not even really using the health portion of the bubble. But Vivian is like, I'm slow, I need the health, I need the movement speed, and everybody needs the damage. So, you know, she just kind of walks around with the bubble and uses all three elements of it, whereas Eevee and other characters that are like might not be necessarily in that bow. Blazing Hussars. I don't know what the strategy is here. What are they going to round out with Barrack? Big damage.
Every
I like
time
it.
Every
I
time
like
I've been
it, dude.
seeing 3 DPS plus a Geno lately, like I've seen so little triple DPS comps in the last week, my heart keeps going like they're going quad DPS. Like this is what we're going to face. But it's triple DPS with a Genos versus triple frontline with a Torvald.
You lock yourself into triple tank with that? Okay. All right, we'll see. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I guess Penta and Hussars.
This is
some very cool comps for game number 2 here. That was a solid run, I think, from both teams, though. So while this is a little bit more troll than normal, I'm not ready to say that this is like throwing in the towel type of troll from Blazing Hussars.
Not at all. This is actually one of those moments where I think Blazing Hussars, like, this is a solid draft from them. Barrack being your only point tank with a Genos is going to be very solid. Genos with triple DPS is really good. And Tyra specifically on this map as well does a lot of good work. Firebomb, Hunting Party, all of those things, 10 out of 10. On the other side, though, this is where things I think are kind of disconnecting for me. You're putting, I mean, Arrays played amazingly last game, but you're putting a lot of pressure on Arrays to be the guy to perform.
And you're asking Ovum to play Khan and K Crunchy to play Gnar. Interesting little note there.
Ovum, this is his testament saying, I'm not in an Gnar one trick.
I guess so. Penta have some damage amp of their own. Of course, the Field Study Torvald bubbles, as well as the in-flame from Furia's ultimate. Here comes the beam, though, landing on K Crunchy. Big healing early on. And
not going to be running the Cherish either. It's something that we've kind of seen the shift be for this. But for triple frontline, honestly, this is what you want.
Everybody get under the shower.
AoE heal that you just stand down, get 6,000. You get one return kill. You kill off the support. But Erase kills off every single play.
Is Kamikaze still alive? I think he is. Go to Vivian. Yeah, he's still alive.
He's hanging out back there.
He's back in the Penta base. I was going to say, he flanks. Kills Surette.
He missed her by a log shot. She's gone, dude.
Yeah, she's long gone. Or Bolka, excuse me. He kills Bolka on the fight's already over, but he does get his flank off and does manage to get that kill. Penta at 96%. Kamikaze versus Ovum. Big boy with a gun versus a little girl with a gun. The big boy takes it this time around. Ovum grabs the kill. 2-2 does take down K Crunchy, but not before Penta have grabbed the payload.
I mean, a lot of that, you know, I said you're putting a lot of pressure onto Arrays. Arrays gets 4 kills in the first fight. The 5th kill takes a little bit, but that's only because, well, you saw where Kamikaze was. It wasn't going to come through, so Arrays with the damage amp, with the frontline bodies that he has around him, with the Furia behind him, he's doing just fine.
Certainly is. Graphies takes down another kill
for
the red,
too.
But trading out back and forth. Nice wall there. He's getting spotted out here. Dives in, and Lightrit's going to find the kill onto the support. Nice stuff there, and Kamikaze just keeps his finger on the trigger. Manages to take one with him. You can see the kill feed is just flying either way. Now, granted, we always talk about triple frontline falling off into the later stages of the game. Do you see Blazing Hussars even making it that far?
I mean, they have to slow this down a lot harder than they are right now. I think that's the biggest thing. It's so difficult to displace a triple DPS, but they have the champions to do it. Like having a Vivian with a Luminary boost, having a Cassie with a Luminary boost, and then just having Tyra in general melts front lines. But the problem is they also have to keep Barrack safe in all of that time and hope that Arrays doesn't do what Arrays has been doing all game, which is just systematically eradicating them. He's just, I mean, he literally is an exterminator right now, just going into the back and picking off whoever happens to get in the way.
Well, 60 seconds left on the clock to slow this one down. Penta off to the races, and they're popping their ultimates pretty systematically. Time and Space comes out, and I don't even know, even if it did hit somebody, it's not going to grab the insta-kill. It's likely they would just be healed right back up to full HP. Raze goes for the peaks with the Torvald bubble, gets off some good damage, has a really good angle on Barrack here, just needs to reload some time for some cooldowns. I think Penta, with Hyper Beam and Overpower Gore, they could really get this one pushed through easily, I think.
I mean, they have everything they need. There's going to be an alignment. Not going to connect, but does keep him alive long enough to get the shield through, which honestly is all you really need. You don't need alignment to connect. You can kill him otherwise.
They're so focused on taking down a Raze, and they do. There's a lot of big, beefy boys in front of them that they also need to be worried about. 84 HP for Ovum. He gets a big heal. You can see some signs of life out of Blazing Hussars. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5 goes the clock. Crossfire was spent, and it was enough to dig in their heels and hold on for the time being.
This is going to be an interesting game. I think that is the showcase, like at the very end, of what Blazing Hussars can do against Penta. And I think, well, the entire rest of that round was what Penta can do against Blazing Hussars. And I don't think this fully filled the timer for the Quadra kill, but 4 people in one fight was all a Raze. He got a Quadra, essentially. And this is where I think things start to break down, where it's just like, a Raze can do well, but if he keeps getting focused out the way that he is, they don't really have anyone else that steps up and hits as hard as he's going to, versus Blazing Hussars. You lose a Tyra, you have a Cassie. You lose a Cassie, you have a Vivian. Like, you have backup plans.
And yes, he grabs 4 there, but outside of that, he's 2 and 4 in the round. So kind of a tough start there for a Raze outside of his little pop-off Quadra kill there at the start. 2 record 2s, 2 cauterized 2s, and a cauterized 1 and a wrecker 1, just kind of flavor picks. Doodle with a nice scout. Dismounts a couple of frontline. Overpower is going to grab the first pick of this game. No frontliner for Blazing Hussars.
And now they're going to be free to get aggressive. They do still have the Luminary boost, but it's not going to be anywhere near enough to get somebody onto the objective. That should be free percentage overall for Penta. And depending on how they run it, a couple of free kills. A Raze Ovum tag team to get 3. And it looks like Surrett's almost got away.
Hits the kneeling emo inside of the Fury Beam. And Ovum very in control of that the whole time. It felt like very, very solid play from him. Puts his shield up as soon as the healing beam is there. He drops the shield and starts firing away. Good target prioritization as well. I noticed he ignored that Cassie to get shots onto Tyra, and it looked like Genos, I think it was in the backline there. Realizing that, you know, my Inara's diving both of these characters. I need to help her get those kills. That way she can make it out safer. And then he still has leftover HP to box out with Cassie. So this Penta lineup, yes, it's going to slow down a little bit with Caught 2s and Record 2s and stuff like that, but not yet.
And that's actually the glorious thing. The reason that you would want a Solar Blessing Furia instead of a Cherish is because of the fact that, well, Cauterize doesn't affect it anywhere near as much as it affects pretty much any other heal in the game. And when you're looking at triple frontline, Cauterize is like your deadliest enemy. It's going to just stop these frontlines from being anywhere near as effective. And it's still going to hurt. They're not going to heal up instantly, but they still have a ton of health that they're going to have to melt through. Luckily, again, Cassie, Tyra, love melting through health bars.
Big game, disengage, misses there, so Doodle's gonna do what he can. Here comes the Solar Blessing, topped back up to full HP. K-Crunchy fighting aggressively onto this tower. One more shot would have done it. Gets the bubble from Torvald. More movement speed, more damage, more health. All things that Inara can use. And she does so nicely. K-Crunchy with a beautiful engagement there. Not only does he hit the seismic crash, that gets that initial kill there onto a Genos, I believe, but then he walks down 2 other people. I mean, that was very nicely played by K.
And so far, Penta have been showcasing communication and like target prioritization, I think, better than really any team we see, honestly. They are going forward. Earlier, you highlighted Ovum kind of ignoring 1 to kill the Tyra, and the same thing happens there. Crunchy recognizes, you know what, I don't need to kill this person. Like, it's not my job. It raises back or raises behind me. I'm going to keep aggressing somewhere else and let someone clean up the scraps that I leave behind.
They need a beam bad. They're going to get it too. K-Crunchy just steps under it for a moment, leaves it there on the payload. Torvald bubble as well. Raze kills Tutu. Wall goes up. Pentar setting up to get this one pushed through. Is anyone around? Vivian's there, but I don't know if they're going to have the time. It's 2 dainty damsels trying to stop the onslaught from Torvald and Nara and Khan. Penta will slam this one home for a 3-1 lead.
They're just doing exactly what you would expect. Like, this is... yesterday I used an analogy comparing like a team to just a football offensive line, and that's exactly what this is. Like, Penta has 3 offensive linemen.
If that's not an offensive lineman right there, I don't know what is.
We're going to stand in the front. Erase is in the back, and like as long as that guy's safe, we're good to keep moving forward. And, like they're just pushing the line as hard as they can.
Con
and then Blazing Hussars are like, again, I said this yesterday, but they're the high school team, and they're just getting bullied.
Yeah, Con kneeling down. 6,000 HPS heal on him, 3-point stance. I don't know what's closer to an offensive lineman in Paladins for my money. Con is that boy. Overpower's ready to go as well. Almost impossible to miss in a hallway like this. Has to wait for that shield to go down, and as soon as it does, Ovum scoops up his prey, wiggles it around for funsies, and then dunks it into the abyss.
That's the closest to like a 360 no-scope, I guess, that you can get as Con. It's like, I can't fully turn around with you, so we're just going to spin you around a little bit in my hand and then toss you off the map. That's 60% already. And Barrick, as far as I know, he's still alive. Yeah, Toot's dancing right there. Now he finally goes down. So Penta starts off going kind of back and forth, but I think they showcase their strength.
Yeah, and good teams, we talk about it does fall off later on, but teams that are as good as Penta, they will still get late game wins with triple frontline. It's not impossible. It's just not as effective on paper and in practice, but they are so good that I think there's definitely ways around it. Target prioritization, again, was a big one for me. You see that Tyra coming ripping around the corner and crossfire. Not only is Ovum focusing that target, but you see in the distance as well, Erase sort of whipped around on Leon to help deal with it and actually got the kill with his presence. So they're just very, very good at helping each other out and making sure that the goal and the vision for their team fights is very clear.
And again, I think one of the biggest things is that, you look back, you see a Moldava ban, you look at all the cauterizes that come out, actually nowhere near as many as I think you should have on the side of Blazing Stars, 3 caught 2s.
Time.
But yeah, admittedly, no time. But also, even if you get to cauterize 3, that takes a 6,000 heal per second heal down to a 600 per second heal. And granted, it's only in one spot, but I mean, these guys aren't moving very fast. Like Inara, Torvald are not going to outrun that beam most of the time. So you're still looking at them taking in more healing, and Inara as a sponge in and of herself. Like, they got a triple frontline draft that feels like it's almost impossible to counter.
You bring up a really good point, because Solar Blessing is just such a high base.
It's so ridiculous.
Even when there's Cauterize 3 online, you get every tier of Rejuvenate that you get online is an additional 600 HPS, aka an additional Ying ultimate, just uncauterized, applied to you, that you get. When you look at Inara, I mean, K. Crunchy a lot of times was using his DR, natural damage, or healing amp, to also get under that. In that situation, Inara is impossible to kill. You cannot take, if she's DR'd under that Solar Blessing, even with COT 3, you're not going to kill her.
Yeah, and that's the scary thought. That is one that, looking forward, like, that is probably the best triple frontline, because then you also have like the flexibility when you grab someone like Khan, who can still be aggressive, still deal damage, but Torvald won't make it through 9 times out of 10. I think Penta, like, if you want to run that, you need something to kind of enable your damage to go a little crazy, and I think that's kind of what they needed overall, but I don't think we'll see it again. Unless they just don't want to ban Torvald. I mean, we might see another Moldamba down there.
Speaking of Torvald and speaking of crazy, we're going to Timbermill. Torvald's going to take a seat for this game. One sniper is as well. Kinessa's off the table. Janos first picked. Penta have the chance to scoop up the Strix if they want it.
Flash out.
Yep.
And they do.
That's one of those calls where it's almost impossible to say no to, right? They dangle the shiny in front, and they go, cool, give me the Strix. Like, you're not going to be able to get too much that's going to counter me, except for Eevee, which is really good with Genos and pretty good on this map.
It's almost like you've done this before. There it is, Eevee locked in for this.
We've gotten a lot more Timbermills these last few weeks.
We honestly
starting
have.
To know it. I'm starting to figure it on out.
Yeah, we seriously have. Khan is going to be locked in 5th alongside. So Timbermill is like we say with Jaguar Falls, it's a map that doesn't really disable you from running anything. It doesn't really railroad you in any particular composition. It's really just kind of like, what do you want to do? You can kind of pull off a lot of different stuff. Timbermill might be the farthest opposite thing from that. Is it extremely railroading? Like, you got to have this type of stuff. That's why you're seeing Khan is going to go 5th here. He's just not the same character he is on every other map.
Well, because, and most of it comes down to the point fight, right? On any other point fight, Khan can walk to the side room wherever the flanks are fighting and bully a flank, or walk behind him to the back line. Like, he can do that. On Timbermill, it's like, cool, well, I got to go around and into the teleporter to get up there to bully out a sniper. or I've got to go up this ramp way over here to come into this room. Like,
Yeah.
it's just not the same layout, so you can't use his aggression the way that his aggression wants to be used. And I mean, you get
I don't hate
things-
it.
I actually love the way they've drafted. Strix is good on this map because of long
I don't
range.
hate it.
Maeve is good on this map because she can bounce from roof to roof. And Willow's good on this map for the same reason Drogoz is good on this map. I can just hang out in the air.
And who's taking him down on that side? There is an
point.
element where I say, you know, on Jag, a Cassie can deal with it. A Cassie can hit those shots with that skybox. Not here. Not
Yeah.
on Timbermill. It's too far. Especially when that Willow gets up into Fae Flight. They're just not going to be reliable bolts landing to take him down. So I'm curious to see who plays it. You know, Simslow's kind of the wacky guy that plays the funky picks, but he loves Maeve so much that I don't know if he's going to be on anything different than that. And it will be Cake Crunchy this time. That rocks the Willow. Will be Blast Flower, his talent selection. Unauthorized use, Cherish, Cat Burglar. There's actually 4 characters on that team you can really look at and be like, what? I wonder what talent they are going to run. There's options there. We'll take a look at the Willow loadout as we ride to the first point here. She's going to be probably the least commonly seen character. Cooldown of Dead Zone, some HP. Eliminations reducing your active cooldowns as well. So that's things that are already on cooldown, like your Flutter, your Seedling, all that type of good stuff here. You can see those comic book numbers kapowing. Once you get a couple of shots online, you continue to hit harder and harder and harder until you're swinging for 800 base.
And honestly, the only thing that catches my eye about this loadout, like Twilight, Just Believe are like the 2 standards. Like if you're playing Willow, you have to have those 2 cards in there. Usually level 4, maybe level 5 for Twilight, as you can see here. But like Flora will also be traded out for damage reduction after Flutter, right? Like it's, do you want immediate health or do you want damage reduction? It just kind of depends on the map. I feel like here, you're not going to flutter around anywhere near as much. In fact, most of the time that might put you in a bad position. You just want the 200.
Simslow gets in there. A lot of people starting to stack up, tries to get the damage out, but Cake Crunchy so far hasn't died with Willow. Trying to get up in Inara's face as well. I don't know if he's going to be able to win this boxing duel, especially with having to reload early on. But he's confident enough to take it. Healer at his back exploded by Graphies from across the way. That's a pretty long-range, impactful kill for Graphies.
And being able to find it again, it's not an easy shot to find. A little easier than it would be onto, say, a Wormjet's Drogoz. And the biggest thing I think Blazing Hussars have going for themselves is right now point control. And anytime on Penta, they spent, what, 45 seconds, well, not 45 seconds, but 45% to be able to stand on the objective. They just don't have too much to displace this Inara right now.
Just needs cooldowns right now. Sim's hitting good knives, but he really needs some pounces, some prowls to get around this map, continue to do good damage. Blazing Hussars, gotta give them credit. They're really playing this one smartly, taking their time, reading the blink back as well. Hits the Midnight, doesn't like what he sees there, but the kills continuing to fall for Penta down the stretch when things are getting chaotic, when ultimates are starting to fly. The lights go out from Midnight. This Eevee stops being effective. Simslow is a lot to thank, I think, for the ease of this final team fight.
Admittedly, it was kind of Andrew Doodle feeling locked down. We'll be able to get in and get an overtime touch, and that might buy enough time. It kind of depends on whether or not Zerats wants to commit. He says no. I saw, like, the minute I started that sentence, he turned his horse around and ran the other way. Just not willing to commit too fully to that one, trying to get the overtime. Not worth it to run in 1-by-1 on Timbermill. It just never gets you anywhere. And unfortunately for them, that means they're starting off kind of at a deficit already, kind of trickled.
The boy plays a lot of Maeve, it seems. Simslow very, very comfortable moving around this character, even on a map that's not really seen a ton of. Around the corner, confident to take that 1v1, but once he hears the second and third members chasing him down, a little bit less confident, I think understandably so. Simslow gets out of dodge, maintains his 5 streak, will stay alive for the time being, but doesn't solve the problem. 2 members of Blazing Hussars on their high ground looking at them from an awkward angle.
Yeah, same conversation we've been having, I mean, the last 2 days of the Premier League, where it comes down to the fact that how many eyes are you pulling towards you? Like, it doesn't matter if you're getting a bunch of kills. How many people are looking at you in this scenario? You have 3 people chasing down a Maeve right there. Look how far the payload got.
Yeah.
It is already almost converted. It's only been a minute. Timbermill, it is not supposed to move that fast or that far anywhere near this timing. They get the dome shield as well. They're buying themselves time. 2-2. It's kind of in a rough spot.
Just got to get this Inara down, and this payload would roll through, but the kills are starting to fall. This Barrack is not going to have the legs to stand up, but you hit a good point there that it's only took them a minute. They went a really, really long distance there. I give all the credit there to 2-2 personally. I think he hits that wall, and that wall is damn near as good as that dome shield was in terms of buying time and mitigating potential damage onto 2-2. He saves the round there.
Overall, this game is kind of a push and pull between a few champions. Like, it's how hard is Eevee putting pressure onto Strix? How hard is Maeve and Willow putting pressure onto Eevee and the Cassie, admittedly, when it comes down to it, to try and find this boxing match? Because Graphies, I mean, he drops in there, he should win a quick 1v1 up against Arrays. But Arrays hitting shots like this makes it a little easier for his team.
2 in a row there, and the headshots ringing the bell of Anar. Another great wall from Toot Toot. Just to buy some time, Barrett trying to get around this payload to stay alive. Ovum from distance manages to find the killing blow onto Toot Toot. Overpower rips. It looks like Maeve out from the back line. This is an all-out war. The payload rows closer and closer here, and it is going to go through. Really, really nicely done there. Bolka and Ovum. What a potent frontline support combination.
And this is Penta, again, playing the map in a way where they take advantage of, I think, everything that you can have on the map. They have the long range in the Strix, who, during that point, or that last little bit of push, he's just sitting back, pelting them with sniper damage. Not doing anything crazy, not doing anything outlandish. You have Barrick in their face, well, she just kind of died. And then you look up in the air and there's a Willow. Like, there's just 4 places. There was either on the payload, above the payload, way behind the payload, or off to the right near the saw where the healer was.
The saw.
And wherever you wanted to look, you are paying attention to something different. You have to look at Ovum in that scenario. And so Penta just diversify their targets so much that it's almost impossible for Blazing Hussars to feel comfortable.
Yeah, they cause a lot of chaos. That is for sure. 3 DPS composition here from Penta. Midnight is ready to go. This is a great ultimate just to get everyone into position. Turns the lights off for a second, but they don't need it right now. According to Simslow, he's going to jump his way up to the high ground. He's got a couple of front lines to shoot at. Toot Toot's going to go down. That's a great first target to get rid of.
I mean, now you just get Barrick moved in on the point. He has his dome shield as well, so anyone else who tries to fight is going to be met with that. And you get some good damage numbers. Dead Zone is such a fun ability. Unfortunately for Kunzi, takes a little bit too much. Kind of pokes his head out a little too far there for too long. And that's 66%. Still good, but it's soon to be stalled out here by Blazing Hussars.
There's the Maeve ultimate shutting off the lights. Cassie turns them back on with Scout. Nice stuff there. So much healing on the high ground. Doodle gets good poke. He lands good shots. But the sustain is just enough to mitigate all of it. Graphies takes down Ovum. That's the first step in taking this point back. Comeback mechanics going to do a lot of the legwork here. Nice shots from Graphies, just keeping people poked out at distance. Unless there's a couple kills here in the next few seconds, this one is going to be very difficult to take back for Penta.
You know, we had harped on the Renegades last week for their ability or lack thereof to win a comeback mechanic fight. This is probably one of the most difficult maps to win a comeback mechanic point fight on. You have to just dominate them the entire time. Right now, Crunzy's trying to. He gets taken out of the air. Surretz finds a kill onto Simsy. Like, Ovum just should not stand here. The beam misses as well, so all healing should be gone.
I mean, the disengage, whether he meant to or not, that was what really threw Ovum away from that beam.
Yeah.
For me, we even got to see it on camera. Okay, Crunzy's just so focused on that Cassie the whole time. Was shooting to keep her in the corner. I was assuming for Simslow to go follow up on that, but he never really did. Kind of pushed it down, popped his ultimate to continue to get that pressure, and just ended up dying for it. Meanwhile, there was Inara pretty exposed on the objective the whole time. And you know, that's what you want with Blast Flower. You just want to keep pounding the same target as much as possible.
Now, I can't remember, and so I'm going to ask you, or we can look at it either way. The talent selection for Fury was Solar Blessing, right, this time around?
It was Cherish.
Last time. Okay, so it is Cherish. So Beams at this point, called it out as missing. It's looking for stuns. It's looking for setups. It's looking for damage. Not going to be your typical drop it on, well, not going to be your last game's drop it on the front line. And so Barrick going to have to rely, I think, a little bit more on his own shielding. Like, it's one of those things, Cherish can do some good healing, and especially on this map, the range increase is really good. But you will not see him get full health resets the way he wants. He's going to have to use the bowling ball and the reset cards on that and hope for Cherish heals to keep him rolling. And otherwise, it comes down to kind of, I guess, a standard triple DPS of burn them down a little faster than they can burn your front line.
Yeah, and that's the theme with triple DPS, right? I mean, Barrick's going to do what he can, but he's not winning that fight through frontline power. It's got to be this sniper, this flanker. Nice shot there from Doodle. Takes out Simslow mid-air. That is a thorn in their side, just completely removed for the time being. Nice shot there from Arrays. Doodle taking his time, playing very patiently. But you can see 1 second off the gas. One little moment that he lets Arrays get pressure back, and Arrays destroys both front lines. And him.
I like the call,
was
though.
gross,
like,
dude.
Andrew Doodle makes the perfect rotation. Like, I know exactly where he's running to. Unfortunately, he knew exactly where you were running to because you knew where he was running to. So he just prepared himself, found a shot, and poor Heavy's going to be gone. This is still a defense coming through for Penta right now. 30 seconds left. They should be able to get a touch and at least push this into overtime for sure.
But that's a really good moment
pretty low.
to talk about what you were saying about turning eyes, right? When we say, you know, this Eevee might not have a ton of damage, she might not have a lot of kills, but she's distracting people. Look at the value right there. When Raze was distracted, you know, he's kind of just staring at the wall, looking maybe this Eevee's going to come around the corner. The second Angelito takes his foot off the gas, 2 frontliners die in the next 10 seconds. And then Angelito dies because those, you know, there's nothing else to shoot at. That's why distraction value is so important. And Raze has been so good at hitting these shots, but he buys just enough time. And Doodle, patient again in the ice block, comes out and gets the kill.
And that's going to be the glorious thing that sets up Cassie to be able to sit here. You burn down the barrack, you burn down, I think, all hopes of a defense, at least for a moment. Respawn proximity is going to be good for Penta. And as long as Cruncy is hitting this hard, it's going to be really difficult to keep anyone alive. That overtime burns down. And again, Penta do the same thing they did during their push, where it's just, you have 3 places to look, and if you're not paying attention to all 3 of them at once, they're going to burn you down.
Look at Raze's damage here. He's almost doubling the next closest person. This is not some corny double at 3 minutes in. This is 11 minutes into Timbermill at almost 120,000. Next closest, like I said, at half his value, 68,000. K Cruncy here. Struggling to keep up, but honestly, top damage amongst the rest of the pack, amongst the mere mortal men. He's still looking good. And one of the cool things about Blast Flower is, like we just saw with Willow's, like one of the few real blasters, you know?
Yeah.
You won't get full damage, but you'll hit people from pretty far away with this weapon. And as long as you're hitting them, it doesn't matter if it's only 100 damage. You're applying a stack of Blast Flower, and you're still getting that value from your talent. Very aggressive little push in here from K Cruncy. This is what I wanted to see. There's nobody to contest this. I don't know if Eevee's his best target. He's looking for somebody to hit here.
What's good about this position is, I mean, who looks straight up, right? Like, you're going to finally have some people paying attention to him, but he's going to be able to get the burst damage down. Got the dead zone and the anti-heal onto the Inara as well, just to force her to fall down. You have to leave the high ground. You can't stay up here if you want to. She walks into the seedling.
Yeah,
a couple more shots is going to hurt. But this is just a testament to how long Inara lives. Cruncy takes him a little bit, but he finally burns her down.
There it is. Really good character to take down. Cassie just kind of sitting there in the well. So many people with essentially the full surround here. This is what makes Penta so dangerous. They have so many angles to attack from. Con shield is destroyed. Raze patiently waiting behind the scope here. K Cruncy finishes off. Kamiker, Doodle's dead to the hand of a Raze as well. That's what's making this so difficult for Blazing Hussars right now. They have their natural predator for the Strix, but a Raze has been so dialed in that it just hasn't mattered on paper. Overtime is starting, resetting, likely to finish here in favor of Penta. Doodle gets taken out mid-flight again by a Raze. You have these moments, we've talked about it for so long, that doesn't matter what it is on paper. If he's hitting shots like that, it's not much you can do.
I think the difference what we're seeing right now, mainly out of Sour Team, is that they are willing to try things. Again, I think that we will either see an MSI or things that might play a role when it's just like, cool, we have no clue what that team's going to run because everyone's running anything on lane.
Yeah.
They are willing to lean out and be like, you know what, let's try the Willow. But they're going to try it with things that work on Timber Mill as well to make sure that even if maybe it didn't perform well, it would be able to fit. But 88,000 there, 121,000 damage, 11, 3, and 10 for the Strix, who I would argue was the one doing the most, but I think it's because, look at the deaths for Cruncy, look at the deaths for Simsaloo, like, they are focused on the other DPS. Erase is just happy and in the back.
They were absolutely playing as aggressive as they needed to. Simsaloo does a good job, like you were saying, almost playing that distractor role, rotating around a lot, keeping a lot of eyes on him. We broke down the damage before getting into that final fight, which is why I definitely want to, you know, pat Cruncy on the back there. That's a 20,000 damage fight for him on the Willow. He gets big, big value there. Almost died a couple of times, but because he did manage to stay alive, he goes on to be very, very effective. But again, all this distraction value had to be worth something. You have to hit the shots when you are presented the opportunity, and I think Ray's definitely stepped up to the plate in all capacities.
And this is also part of the biggest reason why normally I would say Genos Eevee versus a Strix, like that's a relatively even fight on like Frog Isle on Timber Mill. But because of where Andrew Doodle is almost always locked down, he's having to fight Maeve over there. He's having to fight a Willow, like kind of up in the air. There was never a chance for her to get back there. So if you have that kind of counter in your pocket ready, then all of a sudden banning Knessa kind of shoots Blazing Hussars in their own foot.
Well, that does it for the European and Minor League. The final standings of Phase 1 are locked in, 11-1, 25 plus-minus map differential for this Penta squad. They're looking very, very dangerous, looking to be one of the teams to look out for and maybe one of the teams to beat from the Minor League. They're rock solid. That does it for the EU Minor League, though. We're going to throw it to a quick break as we switch over to NA. Brought to you by Skillshot, Hi-Res Studios, Evil Mojo, INAP, Steel Series, Respawn.